Hello. Hello and welcome. It's great to see this room filled with enormous power and energy, and I want to welcome you all to the 20th Annual Women and the Critical Eye. I want to welcome, of course, all the great women here in this room and the few males that are sprinkled around. Also, I have to say, the only reason why I'm allowed to be here as director of the Met is because I'm the Marina Kellen French director of the Met. So thank you for having me here tonight. It's almost hard to believe that about 2 decades ago, this has been a small, intimate gathering. It has now evolved into such a dynamic, sold-out event that we are celebrating here tonight, and it's such a great way of celebrating also what the Met has to offer. And this transformation is thanks entirely to the remarkable vision and to the leadership of Lulu Wang. Lulu is a beloved trustee of the Met. She has been the heart and soul of this program from the very beginning. And it was and has been her unwavering commitment to elevating the achievements of women in the arts and also to creating a space for women to connect here at the museum and other places through ideas, through experiences, through connoisseurship. And that has shaped Women in the Critical Eye into certainly a cornerstone program here at the Met and also a fixture in our annual calendar. It's now a cherished tradition, bringing together a diverse, passionate, and energized community of women who are all, and I hope you agree when you're here, united through a deep love for collecting, for creating art, and for the arts itself. So at the Met, we recognize that certainly, this museum, of course, would be nothing without women. It would be nothing without the art that women have created over decades, over centuries. And so we continue to expand, making sure that women artists are represented in our galleries, but really incredible women are working here at the museum, behind the scenes, and volunteering their time, championing our mission throughout the support. Women power, in that sense, also the Met. If you look at that, you can see that 53% of our staff are women, but 83% of our leadership roles are women, and 87% of our volunteers are women in that context. So it's basically really this very special kind of power and perspective that supports us here. We continue to also highlight current artists, women artists in our program. You just went up the Met and saw on the facade of the Met Bull's dynamic work. We just, until recently, had Dong Yang-ze's vibrant calligraphy in the Great Hall. We currently have Anastasia Samoilova's Florida photographs in our galleries, or Jenny C. Jones's powerful sonic installations on the roof. And very soon, we're going to have Lorna Simpson's first ever museum survey here at the Met. Tonight, we are privileged to celebrate and learn from another extraordinary woman whose life has certainly been shaped by art in so many meaningful ways. Judy Glickman Lauder. She grew up immersed in a world of photography as the daughter of a photographer. She has become a gifted and accomplished photographer herself, a devoted collector, especially also photography, and a passionate advocate for the arts and for artists. Her work behind the lens, her photographs are both powerful and deeply human, empathic. And beyond all of that, she's a tireless advocate for the arts, a champion of artists and a generous philanthropist whose impact certainly resonates far and wide. It's together with her husband, Leonard Lauder, one of the foremost collectors and philanthropists of our time, who I also want to welcome here, of course. They have helped shape the cultural landscape in a lasting and meaningful way here in New York and way beyond. But tonight we shine a light on her vision, on her voice, and her external contributions. Judy will be in conversation with Jeff Rosenheim, who is a friend of hers, but he's especially also the Joyce F. Menschel Curator in charge of the Department of Photographs here at the Met. Jeff has been a vital part of the Met's curatorial team since 1992. And we are also grateful to both him and especially, of course, to Judy for joining us for this evening, and it promises to be a very engaging, very special dialogue. So before I hand things over to Lulu, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a major milestone. After 20 years of tireless leadership, Lulu will be stepping down from her role guiding women at the critical eye. She will certainly continue to be part of this great community, but we will miss, of course, her visionary hand at the helm. But we are thrilled to welcome her incredible successor, Janice Lee, who joined the Met's Board of Trustees last year, and she's a great friend to the Met. Janice is a famous, accomplished, and acclaimed writer, an avid supporter of the arts, and a champion of modern and contemporary art, especially also female artists in her own personal collecting. I know that Janice will bring tremendous insight, warmth, perspective, and also energy to this program, to this idea of gathering, and it will further thrive based on Lulu's legacy and with continuous enthusiasm and elegance. So thank you, Janice, for taking this on. Really appreciate that. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to the 2025 Women and the Critical Eye Host Committee for the incredible support and dedication. It's your commitment that is essential to everything that we do. It's the support that you provide, and we are most grateful for the role that you play in shaping this vibrant community. And I want to thank everyone here, who is here in this room to celebrate that. And now it's my great pleasure to turn the floor over to the inimitable Lulu Wang. Thank you.
Wow, it's so wonderful to be with you all tonight. As Max has mentioned, I've been a trustee of the Met for many years. I came on board actually 2001. I remember that so clearly. It was a great year and a tough year. But thank you so much for your very kind remarks, Max. You've been with us ever since the time you joined the Met, and you've been a wonderful supporter of our event and of our community. So today, I'm welcoming you to the 20th anniversary of the Women in the Critical Eye. And I can't tell you how very privileged I feel to have been the founder of this incredible program, but also of this community. It's a community of all of you, women who are enthusiasts, who are collectors, artists, but all of you together have come to share and to encourage each other to make room for art in your life and how meaningful it has become. 20 years ago, we started with 33 women in a little conference room having a cup of coffee, and Keith Christensen, who was the curator of Northern European paintings, took us on a tour. He had a show that was in place, and that was the beginning of our great community. And now we have 800 registrants for this event, and we continue to grow every year. And the most wonderful thing is to see all of you bringing your sisters and your moms and your daughters and granddaughters as we get older. And it's a community that's based on a shared interest and love of the Met and of art. But we still have hewed to a very important tenet, and that is to be as inclusive as possible, so we have never charged for this event. And because we have not charged for this, and we want women of every stripe to come and enjoy the program, many of you have said, well, you know, it must be kind of expensive to have a reception and to have a room dedicated for us. Is there anything we can help? We don't want this to be ever lost because of lack of budget. And because of your asking, your interest, your generosity, your gifts have come in every year. And this year, we have set a new record. We have, through your gifts and your generosity, over $650,000. So, and it's not just the funds that have been raised, but it really speaks to the generosity and stewardship of our women's community here. We really do care about this institution and that art be brought into the lives of as many women as we can help do so. We have also taken a very important part of the funds raised from our gifts to purchase works of art by women. They have to go through the acquisition committee, so they are works that are truly important and reflect the Met's collection. But here you have on the screen, on the left, is a sculpture by Wangechi Mutu. It's called Seated Woman 3. And Wangechi won the competition to populate the long, empty niches in the front of the Met. And when this was installed, Seated Woman 3, it was right before the COVID. And all during that long, dark period when the Met was closed, she was in her niche. And she was standing guard over the Met. And so many people would walk by the Met and longingly look at the closed doors, but still the light on the niches. And they somehow felt this wise woman was looking out for the Met and all those who were yearning to be back. And then afterwards, we were able to buy this wonderful portrait of Rachel Royce. She was a very, very well-respected woman painting in the 17th and 18th century, and at a time when women were not encouraged, sometimes not even allowed, to do portraits because that was considered serious art. Women were relegated to painting pretty flowers and textiles. So she worked it out so that she had a man co-paint this with her. And she painted the important parts of it, but he had the cover for her. And to her credit, this has become a great masterpiece. And the Met acquired it with the help of Women in the Critical Eye Funds. You will now see Rachel Royce being hung in the Northern European galleries. It's there so you can go visit her and pay your respects. And also, Wangechi Mutu will be available when the new Tang Wing is here. It'll be a bit to wait, but she will be there in all her glory. Finally, the most recent gift that the Critical Eye has supported have been this beautiful tripart Tiffany Studio stained glass panels. It is truly a tribute to women's role in art because this work, purchased by the Met recently, was commissioned by a wealthy woman, Sarah Cochran. It was designed by a very gifted woman, Agnes Northrup, and it was made by a team of women artisans. And it is now in the Engelhart Court, where we will have our reception afterwards. So go and visit this panel. It's beautiful. So it is really with such great and deep gratitude that I thank all those who've been alongside all of us in building this community. And it truly has been a village to build the women of the Critical Eye. I want to thank my fellow women trustees and my Met colleagues. Also, those of you who have been on the host committee, you have been such a powerhouse to bring people and attention to our event. And of course, to our wonderful women speakers. Many of you are here tonight, and we're so delighted that you've stayed close to our group. But perhaps last but not least, and often an underestimated part of our community, are the hardworking, dedicated Met members of our security team. They are the ones who work through the COVID, safeguarding our beloved Met, our art, and many of them are here not because it's a job, because they love art. And many of them are highly educated. And so sometimes if you're walking through the hallways of the Met and you're lost and you see someone, you can not only ask them where to go for a particular gallery, but they'll also give you a tidbit of art about what you're about to see. So make use of that. They're a really wonderful part of our whole community. Now, before I introduce our speakers, I think Max has alluded, I have both a hello and a goodbye. The goodbye is because after 20 years, I really felt that I have had so much fun and joy helping to lead this group. But 20 years is a long time, and it's time to pass the torch. And I will, after this, I will be stepping back and becoming a part of the group. I will be coming every year and joining you in the audience and looking forward to the great programs that will come after this. Now, the hello. The hello is to Janice Y.K. Lee. And as Max has mentioned, she's a fellow trustee at the Met. She's a very accomplished, very well-known author, a bestseller of The Piano Teacher, and her book, The Expatriates, has been made into an Amazon series. So you'll get to see that if you go back and just turn on your streaming. So I didn't really know Janice aside from being a member of the Met, but I did a little research on you, Janice, and I found it's interesting. Our lives have sort of been in parallel paths. And like me, you immigrated to America with your family, and as we shared a common major in college, English Lit, and you followed your studies at Harvard, I at Wellesley, neighbors in Boston and Cambridge, and our first jobs were editing. So we have a lot of things in common that we'll have to explore further. But most importantly, we share with all of you here a great love of the Met and the role that art has in enriching women's lives. And by using art as a common language, we have learned to learn about art together and to make many friends here. So Janice, please come up and say a few words with us.
Thank you, Lulu, for that incredibly generous introduction. You have set a remarkable standard, and it's truly an honor to step into the role that you shaped with such passion, vision, and heart. As we look ahead to the 21st anniversary of Women in the Critical Eye next spring and beyond, I'm excited to build on the extraordinary foundation you've created and to carry your bold vision forward. On behalf of all of us at the Met, we'd like to present you with a small gift, a heartfelt token of our deep gratitude for all that you've done to make this program a vibrant, meaningful event. You've not only built a space for dialogue, connection, and connoisseurship, you've inspired countless women along the way. Truly, you are our Wonder Woman. It's hidden underneath the my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here you go. Okay, what? We'll give it back and then we can open it down. Okay. I think you're good. Okay. All right. I'll make sure I get it. And then are you going to?
So Janice, stay here. I think we'd like to be together and welcome our speakers because we really have a treat for our audience.
I'll hold this for you.
Okay, thank you. So on to our main event. Judy Glickman Lauder. She is a dear friend of ours, of the Met. She, as Max has mentioned, she's been a lifetime muse, photographer, and collector of photography. As Max has mentioned, she was introduced to photography by her father, a gifted photographer who thought she was a wonderful subject. So she learned how to pose and be part of the art making. But then she went from being in front of the camera to behind the camera. And she now, over a lifetime, has produced gifted photography. And through her collection, she has built a real legacy for women in photography. Her works are shown in very important private collections as well as public, including the Getty, the Whitney, the Met, and the Holocaust Museum. She's been the author of a number of books. Recently, she published Presence, the photography collection of Judy Glickman Lauder. It captures many of her collection that has now been gifted to the Portland Museum. She's also been published in a book, Beyond the Shadows, The Holocaust and the Danish Exception, 2018. It's a beautiful and very haunting book. So I encourage all of you to go out and get copies of one or both of the books. It's a treat for yourselves. So tonight, Judy will be in conversation with our own wonderful Jeff Rosenheim, Joyce Menschel, curator in charge of the Department of Photography. And I believe Joyce is with us in the audience, so we're very grateful for Joyce for her leadership of women connoisseurs and collectors in the area of photography. So tonight with Judy, we have three giants in the field of photography. And all three have been very busy this week with so many events relating to photography going on in the city. So we're grateful that Jeff and Judy have taken the time to join us tonight and provide this incredible program. So let me not forget, Jeff is also here because he has just opened a show at the Met. And it's a show on early American photography just upstairs. So if you don't have time tonight, please come back and visit his early American photography. So we are grateful to Judy and Jeff, and let me turn the stage over to them. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Judy. Hi, Leonard. It's a great pleasure to introduce you in person to Judy Lauder. Judy, thank you for sharing the stage with all of your friends, family, and your great supporters.
Thank you, Jeff. And I just really want to thank...
There you go.
Oh, that's a good idea. I think everybody can hear me. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Janice. I have many friends in the audience today, but it also, as a photographer and a collector, it kind of takes a village. And I want to thank and point out Aperture Publishing, Photography Foundation. I think Kathy and Sarah are here. I want to point out, yay! They're going to be neighbors coming to the Upper West Side. They're going to be around the corner, so look out. It's going to be amazing. Portland, Maine, Museum of Art. We have, I think, Mark Basir, our director. We have Angeli Leibowitz, our photography curator, and Howie Greenberg, my gallery. I think there are people here from, thank you very much. And I think Pauline Forlenza is here from AFA, the American Federation of the Arts, which is taking my collection to 4 more venues all over the United States. So thank you one and all.
Thank you, Judy. So I hope you all have seatbelts because we're going to go on a big ride.
Yes.
And we're going to follow Judy's journey through the arts and through the story of how she got interested in photography, which came from home. Those of us who had a darkroom in their home know how magical it is to see photographs come to life in a tray. Judy saw that firsthand. We're going to look at a lot of pictures that are part of her collection, and many of the artists are women. And if they're not women, the subjects are women artists. It's a very interesting collection of photographs. We're going to share some of Judy's favorites with you all, and many of them are my favorites as well. And we're also going to just think about the role of the camera in our society and the role of the camera in women's hands. So I have always believed that Women in the Critical Eye was about photography. Okay, if that isn't a lens and an eye, I don't know what it is. And I'm really delighted to be with Judy. So Judy's going to share her thoughts about the pictures, and we're just going to start right now. Get ready. Here we go. Except I'm not very good at pushing the button. Let's try that again. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So the first picture is actually of Judy's dad. So what do you see in this picture, Judy?
This is kind of my influence. I grew up in front of his camera, the Graflex camera. This was an era, 20s, 30s, 40s. Photography was not really considered an art form. And this was the era of camera clubs, salons, photography magazines. My dad won, I think, 78 different awards and medals and so on, and prizes, culminating with a photograph actually of me that won first place, Popular Photography Magazine, 57,000 entries. 1941, 42, war years, he won a brand new Packard Clipper car.
Wow.
That was really a big deal.
And this wasn't even his profession.
No, he was
not
a doctor.
professional.
This was he was an artist. This was his passion. This was weekends. And let's continue.
Yeah. So this is a self-portrait. This is not just a picture of a photographer at work. This is a self-portrait of someone who really knew what he was doing. And you're going to see how good he was in the next set of pictures.
This is a photograph of my mother, a double exposure. And we're going to go through a number of photographs.
We are, and the thing is that this picture is of someone filled with joy and a little sadness in both expressions. It's a kind of yin-yang picture, and you're going to see that Judy didn't just grow up with a photographer, an amateur photographer, but a real professional who managed to make pictures that still hold our interest today. Here's a few more. Calla
lilies. As we said, my dad was a doctor, and I'm going to take a sip of water. And this is an X-ray. These are really quite advanced photographs. This is 1929. It's a beautiful image. We lived in Northern California, Fisherman's Wharf. They're washing their nets. Also an early image, 32. And what I see in these is a kind of excellence that it's not surprising that he was a doctor. I'm sure there are many doctors in the room. Doctors seem to love photography. My dentist loves photography. My kids laughed at me when they went to the orthodontist and they found out I was a photography curator. The doctor wanted to talk to me and not actually look at my kids. And I kind of understand, working in someone's mouth, but I was fascinated by the process of having X-rays made of teeth. So there's this language that comes up. But the Fisherman's Wharf picture is just an example of the kind of pictorial photography that was very common, but not done so well. He was a really talented picture maker. And you can imagine what a young person, that would be Judy, growing up in a house with a serious darkroom and professional lighting and a member of a camera club, right? He was the president of the Oakland Camera Club, and Oakland, it took place in Berkeley. Oakland, Berkeley, and San Francisco was really a center of photography. That
Right.
was Imogen Cunningham, that was Ruth Bernhard, Alma Levinson, and
Weston.
Yeah. And of course, Ansel Adams, who was a big friend of my dad's, who spoke all the time at the camera club. My brothers went on field trips with him. My dad was friendly with Edward Weston, and I went on a field trip to Point Lobos in Carmel, the Monterey area, and watched him set up his tripod.
Wow.
And show everyone, how to make a photograph. Really interesting.
It was inevitable that Judy would be on this stage. It seems very clear. So he needed a good subject. And what do you see in this picture, which seems to be called fairy tales?
Well, he loved the staircase in our home. And I have two older brothers. My dad, this took a long time. The light had to be right, everything had to be right, and I was very happy to do it. So these took like maybe 3-4 hours a day on a weekend, and it's just a special photograph.
Here's another one.
My mom and me
And what I see here is a kind of appreciation by the picture maker of a partners in the process. And I think that not many of us grew up with this kind of partnership. But the pictures were not just portraits like this. They took on other kinds of meaning.
This is called Siesta, and there I am with my doll on our porch, all in Piedmont, all in our home at that time.
So,
and
yeah, but this picture didn't just stay in the residence of the Ellises. When, at the end of the war, Judy's father submitted these pictures to the Graflex company, and sure enough, they were used in the advertisement for the camera. The Graflex is kind of it's like the Cadillac of American cameras. This is not just a simple, Brownie camera. This is the real machine. This is the professional machine. And, the caption is the chance of a lifetime. But there's Judy in multiple forms posing for the camera. And I just show you one more picture before we move on to the other part of her journey.
Here I am with my father with homemade reflectors, catching the light, telling me which way to go, doing everything with the Graflex, the black cloth, the tripod. And as I said, and the front door is in the background. He's just kind of posing me for something. It was just, I don't know, I think it was a delight because I was not only in front of his camera, but I was in his darkroom. And I watched these images come up in the developer tray. And a lot of them were of me. And it was just a thrill. We also had a continuing exhibit of black and white photography, all the time changing in one room of our home. And many of them were from people that Dad knew, and it was always interesting.
So we're going to show you something very special that was discovered in an archive. Notice the front door with the woodwork, this sort of geometric pattern. Many of us make pictures of our kids on their birthdays. Well, Dr. Ellis made pictures of Judy every year on her birthday for a very long time. And years later, in 1961, a film was made, a film for TV by the Kodak company.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Eastman Kodak, called the Turnaround Commercial. J. Walter Thompson saw pictures of my dad's somewhere and put together a whole commercial. And it won the Clio Award for the best commercial of that year. And it's in the Clio Hall of Fame. And here it is.
here we go.
Where are you going, my little one, little one? Where are you going, my baby, my own? Turn around and you're two. Turn around and you're four. Turn around and you're a young girl going out of the door. Turn around, turn around, turn around, and you're a young girl going out of the door. Where are you going, my little one, little one, little dirndls and petticoats? Where have you gone? Turn around and your tiny tiny. Turn around and you're grown. Turn around and you're a young wife with babes of your own. Turn around, turn around, turn around, and you're a young wife with babes of your own.
One little girl, one precious childhood, saved for years to come in pictures. You can do it too. All it takes is a camera, Kodak film, and thoughtfulness.
And I think that little baby, I think my son is somewhere in the audience here too. Hi, Rabbi Jeffrey Glickman.
So not many of us have this in our background, and in terms of you know, living a life in the arts and thinking about the role that you've played, we're going to now look at some of your own photographs. And so we're just going to begin, if I can figure out how to do this, and we're going to begin with a picture made in Maine, where Judy has kept a home for many, many years and still does.
This is Sabbath Day Lake, a Shaker community in Maine that's very beautiful, very special, very ageless. They're trying to keep it up. Most of the original Shakers are no longer, but it's just a special place. I grew up in California and lived there for 40 years, but I married a Mainer. My late husband, Al Glickman, brought me to Maine, and Maine kind of became my soul. So a lot of my photography, which I'm really not showing tonight because there's so much to see, is from Maine.
So it's a good beginning because it's about doors. It's the opener, and it's about the simplicity of light on form. And that's the sort of through line you're going to see in Judy's collection of photography. But you've done a lot of work, actually not in the US, including a set of pictures made in Poland and in other places where there were extermination camps. And these are very heavy and yet very beautiful pictures.
Growing up in the war years in Northern California, I was very protected and I knew nothing about the Holocaust. It wasn't until I moved to Southern California and was asked by a friend of mine who became a director of one of the first Holocaust museums, the Martyr Memorial of the Holocaust, put together by 85 survivors, objects that they had. And she asked me if I would come and photograph. She needed a catalog. I volunteered to photograph as many of the survivors as I could, and their stories and their objects. I will talk about this a little bit because tonight is the eve of the holiday of Yom HaShoah, which is the annual remembrance of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was 6 million Jews, but it was really 11 million. It was everyone that the Nazis felt were the other and did not fit in their master race. I went to Birkenau and Auschwitz for 2 days on my way to Israel in the late 80s. I came back. It became a mission. I was very taken by everything I had seen. And I realized when I was there that even though I'm American and so on, all of my family is from Poland, the Ukraine, and Lithuania, of which 90% of the Jewish population are no longer. And I was very taken. I really felt at one with the souls of the people. And I kept going back again and again over a 3-year period to maybe 8 or 10 different camps. And the railroad tracks, right here is Execution Wall, Auschwitz. When I went, I carried 2 cameras. One was straight black and white film, and one with infrared film, which shows the light, the infrared rays of light, which are, you're blind to. They're not part of our naked eye. But the film is sensitive to it, and it gives it kind of a haunted, a little bit of a ghostly appearance. Also, it's grainy, and it kind of gives it a timelessness.
And when you're working in infrared, Judy told me, I've never done it, you really don't know what's going to come out.
It's a lot.
You lean into the mystery of the process, and these pictures are quite powerful. And but somehow you learn photography. You learned it from your father, but you also studied it. And when we're going to look at the pictures that Judy has collected, we'll come back to pictures by her teachers and the people that she admired. But let's look at a few more of these pictures, including this one.
Yeah, this is an image. I'm very into reflections and shadows. So this is the crematoria, Auschwitz. And it's glassed in. So there was a woman standing there looking at it. I'm kind of in the background on the left. That's a little bit of me too.
So the reflections include what you can see into and what's behind you.
Right.
This idea of looking forward and behind, you know, being able to do that is one of the roles of artists in our society, to see things that the rest of us don't.
And the railroad tracks, this is from the Warsaw Ghetto to Treblinka. And
Also infrared.
Also infrared. The movie Shoah, that was based on this. This is not Nakahova, this is...
In the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Terence.
Bohosovas, thank you. The reason I'm looking here is that we are seeing what you are seeing up there. Okay. The Bohosovas train station in Theresienstadt. And it's just the trains that just kept going. Sometimes there was such a interest in these trains going that instead of trains going for supplies, for food, and so on, to their own troops, their own German troops, they were taking these trains and making sure that they would go to the camps. They never stopped. I found a tunnel. This is in Theresienstadt, and that's actually my shadow.
The next set of pictures was another project that's related. Will you tell us about these?
Well, first I want to thank, because I think Dr. Judy Goldstein is in the audience. She asked me, she's the director of Humanity in Action. She asked me to go to Denmark because the Danish people saved their Jewish population. They were under occupation by Nazi Germany since 1940, and in 1943, the Gestapo and everyone really came for the Jewish population to send them to the camps. These are, the Danes rose together as a nation, from the bishop of the Lutheran Church, King Christian X, students, cab drivers, doctors, everyone, neighbors, especially neighbors, rose and hid the Jews and got them on boats. And by 1943, Sweden opened up its harbors, and they had a place to go. This is Jens Moller, fisherman, Gilleleie. Many people left from Gilleleie. I think they rescued 12,000 people just from that one fishing village. This is Ollie Secker. He was a medical student at the time at Bisterberg Hospital. This is right in Copenhagen. They gave the elderly Jews false names, false illnesses, put them in the bowels or wherever they could of the hospital. And actually, one time they got them out to some of these small fishing villages by doing a fake funeral procession. And it went on and on. So you have to look at my book because it's the whole story.
This book is really remarkable. The story is in it. The photographs, you can see Judy is as good as her father as a photographer. Really superb pictures. Just one more from this series.
I'm on one of the fishermen boats. That's the Nakahovid Lighthouse, and the fishermen were laughing. They, at that time, were teenagers, and this was probably their father's herring boat, and they were laughing because the Nakahovid Lighthouse, the beam of light went straight out, and they were able in their small boats to rescue people and go under the nose of the Gestapo, and they were very, very proud of that.
So we're going to move on to just a few pictures made in Cuba in 2003. And you may want to know how I got to know Judy. It was not through the halls of this institution. We met in Havana in 2003, and I was leading a group of travelers who, the Met had a license to go to Cuba, and I led many trips, I think 5, and one of them, this wonderful person, Judy Glickman, came on the trip, and she was with a friend of hers, and they said to me, "I'm sorry, Jeff, don't take it personally, but we signed up for the trip because we're photographers, and we're not going to participate in any of your programs. We're not going to come to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we're not going to hear your story on Walker Evans in 1933 in Cuba," which is what I wanted to tell. And they were the most remarkable people. Bonnie and Judy became friends.
Yes, and I went to every lecture. I really, really opened up my eyes to Walker Evans.
So we were together when this picture was made. This is in a restaurant called La Guarida. Has anyone been there or went there? Yes, Linda. So it was one of those, I can't remember what they called them, those hidden restaurants. This is, Castro was in power. But what was really interesting about being with Judy in Cuba was how committed she was to trying to tell the story of what it was like to be Cuban, what it was like to live under the regime of Fidel Castro, and what it was like to experience another culture for the first time. And so we'll just show you a few pictures that I was sort of there for when she made them. This is one. This is another. Judy talks about shadows and reflections.
Havana at night.
Havana is an extraordinary place to work.
It was unbelievable, especially then because it was during
Castro's
Castro,
regime.
and it was also the art biennial.
Yeah, the triennial. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we went into a lot of artist studios. I did go. And
No, I know you did.
It was fascinating.
The triennial was really interesting because we were seeing art that we just didn't see in the States. The embargo, still goes on, and Cuban artists have a lot to say, and I can't wait to actually go back to Cuba. It's changed yet again. Just one more picture from Cuba. What's this about, Judy?
People on stilts. There were a whole group of them. It's just, I don't know, just the culture. I was just taken by it. Very intriguing trip.
So the expressive culture of Cuba, the street life, not just music and food, and obviously it's how a society works under a state that does not allow too much freedom, and yet freedom reigns. and you have to look for it, and it's there. And I think this picture captures that sense of the street. Just one last picture of Judy's.
This is actually not Maine. This is in Montreal, St. Lawrence River. It's the migration of the snow geese. And this is, we made a paper negative. It's a negative image. And you can kind of tell the perspective because there's a little house at the bottom to the right. 250,000 snow geese. I went with an Audubon group. Everybody should do something like that. The sandhill cranes or the snow geese and so on. It's fascinating, fascinating.
So in our journey, we're going to now look at the kinds of pictures that this humanist who is on the stage here with me found of such interest. Many, or not all, but many or most are by women bankers, and those, as mentioned before, that are not, are often of strong women subjects, often artists. And we're just going to do a little romp, and here we go.
Aha. This is by Imogen Cunningham, and it's of Edward Weston and Margaret Maher, both incredible photographers, lovers at the time. A very 1922, a very romantic, and I'm a romanticist, and so's my husband. It's just a very special image.
So Judy's collection of artists is quite distinctive. We're going to look at many. What I see in this picture is, you know, how does one artist make a picture of another artist? These are, psychologically, it's extremely interesting. That it's a challenge, and Judy's collection is filled with really very well chosen examples. And here's another one.
This is Agnes Martin, abstract painter from the 50s and 60s, major painter. Who knew that she suffered from a mental, emotional illness? And I think that Diane Arbus just captured everything, her feet, her everything. I do also want to say one thing. My collection and my photography kind of combine in one thing. I only buy what I'm drawn to. I didn't really think, ooh, I only want women artists, or oh, I only want one period or something. I just love black and white photography. And this is an example. I think it's an incredible image.
So those of you who know, we have Diane Arbus' archive here at the museum, and we have a stunning collection of her work, and we do not have this picture.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay.
Or this one.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I love the Met. I love Jeffrey. I wanted my collection, actually it's a word that my husband uses. I wanted it to be together, and I wanted it to be transformational. I wanted it to just make a difference where it went. And so I'm sorry, Jeffrey. I bought it from Jeffrey Frankel in San Francisco, your friend. Okay,
So
Frida.
So we're in Mexico now. We're in Mexico City. And Frida Kahlo, who's the great painter who is depicted here in a very interesting courtyard. You know, she had these famous dogs. Has everyone been to her house in Mexico City? You know, her work. You know, it's distinctive. There's nothing else quite like it. But take a look at this picture, because it looks like she's looking through into an inner courtyard, but you can see that she has mounted a mirror in that niche. It's a very interesting realization and a superb picture, Judy.
And taken by women.
Yeah. Let's look at another artist making a picture of an artist.
Oh. Okay. Cartier-Bresson photographing Henri Matisse in his old age with doves south of France during the war years. And it's just one of my favorite pictures. It just, I feel I'm very drawn to photographs that tell a story. And you just look at this and you just know.
I just love the fact that Matisse is holding one of the doves and drawing in his sketchbook, and the other doves are just sitting on top of the cage, and they're posing for Cartier-Bresson. So Cartier, you know, what did Talbot say about photography? It was the pencil of nature. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful story in two parts. There's the left part with the cage above Matisse, and in the right part. And it's like the doves are sort of drawing themselves, and Cartier-Bresson is observing that. You know, photography, this is an impossible picture to make, and yet it was made.
This is a Joyce Tennyson. She's an artist, photographer, Maine. Also about birds, self-portrait. In the snow in Maine. I studied with her, and she's a friend. She does amazing work. This is a self-portrait.
It's fascinating to me because what is she doing? There's snow on the ground. She's walking her bird. Do people do that? I guess they do.
Anything can happen.
So Judy's very devoted to her teachers, and Sherry Heiser was another.
Wonderful. I love it. This is self-portrait in Mexico. She's very sensual. Her work is photographs of her are. I also have photographs of her by Judy Dater that are just wonderful.
So, you know, when you study photography, often your teacher in crit, if your pictures weren't good enough, the usual response is you're not close enough. In almost all of Judy's pictures, you're close enough, and she's responding to that intimacy, and you're going to see this over and over, and it's a good lesson on how to create a composition that draws the public in.
Nan Golden, self-portrait with Brian. Brian is also, there's a photograph of him on the wall. It's her honesty, her personal life. She just bears everything. And her use of color. I love her use of color.
Great colorist, and she used the camera as a diary, really, of her own life. She recorded her milieu, her experience. She still is. She is, one of the great auteur picture makers of the time. She's, in a certain sense, follows from the language of Diane Arbus, and it's not surprising that you were drawn to this picture, this couple, in the bedroom. Where pictures are made tell you a lot of the story. There could be no more intimate place than to be revealing yourself with your lover in the bedroom.
This is also an artist, a woman, Lottie Jacoby, photographing another artist, an actress, Lottie Lenya, in 1929.
So Judy's collection is not just contemporary, it's looking backwards and forwards, and this kind of intensity is maybe the intensity of a woman picture maker with a critical eye, but you're going to see it, you have to know your subjects. not every subject is as good as every other subject. Even great actresses don't make necessarily great pictures. It has to be this sort of communication between the picture maker and the subject. I find it interesting that you found this picture to be worthy of your collection, and this one.
Whoa. I love this one because there's so much of Norma Jean, the vulnerability. It's so sensuous, it's so Marilyn, but it's also, it's sort of the story of her. This reminds me of Elton John's song, Candle in the Wind.
Yeah, so it's Marilyn and it's Norma Jean. It's the actress and the person together. And Avedon was a master of getting people to reveal the thing that they're trying to hide. This is a very different kind of an Avedon picture, much more filled with a different kind of life and verve, and just a killer picture.
Killer picture. Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you, Leonard.
The next picture we're going to look at, unless you want to say something about...
No, it's
okay.
Art Buchwald that is standing next to Audrey Hepburn.
This is like a picture that you just... It's like a perfect picture. The next picture maybe was the first one you purchased for your collection.
Yeah, it was. I was doing postgraduate work at UCLA, and at the same time I was a docent and at the museum that was there at that time called the Frederick White Museum. Graham Nash's collection of black and white photography came to that museum. Graham Nash is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. He's an incredible musician, but he's also an incredible photographer and printer and collector. And this fascinated me because of the negative images, the multiple images. Jerry Uelsman I've never seen anything like this, uses multiple enlargers, multiple negatives, selects. He really creates it in the darkroom. It's his wife. And as you can see, there's 3 images of her, but only 2 reflections. Yeah. It just fascinated me.
So this is a very 60s work, and he was using tools that are now common in post-production with, Photoshop, et cetera, but he was doing it in an analog way, in a kind of brilliant way. This is his first wife. I actually went to school with his last wife, who was also his model, as was, I think, the 2 middle ones. Yeah. So we're going to move forward to a couple of other pictures because we have some pictures that pack a punch that we have to get to. So this is a Mexican artist named Graciela Iturbide. If you don't know her work, she's well overdue for a great show in New York. She's represented in different galleries. I got to meet her in Mexico City the last time I was there. These are terrific pictures by a woman picture maker.
Those are real iguanas, alive.
Nuestra Senora de las Iguanas. Amazing, mysterious pictures of powerful women. Women who are connected to spirits and the, animal powers.
Mary Ellen Mark in Maine, taken by Arnold Newman, who I also studied with in Maine. Just an interesting picture. My associate, who I will talk about in a minute, I think studied with Mary, and I love her work. I own quite a few of her pieces, and I love this. I was very taken with this particular image.
Just a terrific picture. 2 pictures by Gordon Parks, who, as you may know, was both a filmmaker and a photographer. I think he was the first black life photographer. His foundation does fantastic work, and I know Judy and Leonard have supported it for many, many years. This is one of his most famous photographs, made during the time of the World War II.
And it's of a woman, her name is Emma Watson. And take a look at the next photograph. This is Emma with her grandchildren framed in the door, with her daughter or daughter-in-law framed in the mirror, with her parents framed in a frame. Another image of Gordon Parks. He photographed her a lot. I love seeing not only the most famous image, but seeing life, seeing her as a real person.
So James Van Der Zee's archive is here at the Met,
Yay.
and Judy and Leonard were collecting James Van Der Zee as early as anyone. I love this picture. This is Van Der Zee's picture. So this is a black guy who grew up in Lenox, Massachusetts. His parents were the housekeeper and the butler to Ulysses S. Grant. He grew up as an artist and as a photographer and became the photographer of the Harlem Renaissance. We acquired his archive, and I want to thank Max for green-lighting that. It's going to transform, it already is transforming our collection, and this is just photography that there's nothing else quite like it.
And that is his wife and daughter.
Yes.
In Massachusetts.
In Lenox, in 1909.
Wow.
He worked from pretty much this date until his death in 1983. He had the longest duration of any photographer you could imagine, 70 years. But civil rights and civil rights photography is something that's near and dear to Judy, and
absolutely. It's about justice and injustice. The first is the Selma March, the march from Selma to Montgomery, which about a year ago, I went with a granddaughter who I think is somewhere here in the audience, and my daughter-in-law. Everybody should do this. They do a civil rights weekend. I was in Selma, I was in Montgomery, I was in Birmingham, and I was in Atlanta, the Martin Luther King Church and everything in Atlanta. It's really an important trip to take. They do it, I think, almost every weekend.
But you can see that Judy is collecting all different types of photographs, but they have to reach this. They have to reach her heart, or it doesn't ring true to her. And we just want to show you a few more. This is one of the great pictures during the Depression. I think if there's one iconic picture from the 30s, it's of this migrant mother by Dorothea Lange, who is an Oakland-based photographer. It's a stunning picture of people who were leaving the Dust Bowl and heading west in a camp in Nipomo, California.
And this is a particularly really good image. I think it was printed by, what's his first name? Rothstein is his last name.
Edward Rothstein, who was another photographer for the New Deal.
Exactly.
Or these two pictures.
These are, again, Holocaust-related. Roman Vishniak, Poland, just before it was occupied or when it was first occupied. That's a grandfather and a granddaughter laying low, not even recognizing or making any attempt to be noticed. And the second one is Henri Cartier-Bresson. Apparently, the woman pointing at the woman in the uniform, the woman in the uniform was Gestapo, and denounced informed upon the woman pointing and her family. And all of a sudden, she sees her. This is 45, so I think the camps, or that particular camp, or whatever, has been liberated, and she is noticing her and denouncing her. And you just have to look at everybody's expression.
Yeah, sorry.
Here is photojournalism, Joseph Kudelka, Czechoslovakia, the Soviet invasion with tanks.
Yeah, so we're now to 1968, and he had to get this film out of Czechoslovakia, and no one knew who had made the pictures for many years. It just said PP when they ran. This left in the hands of a Magnum photographer. He was a photographer of theater, and he was in the aerospace industry. Kudelka is one of the great picture makers of the late 20th century. He's still making pictures today, still working in Prague. But this is a picture that it was behind the Iron Curtain. It couldn't be known who made the pictures, so it was ran as PP, Prague photographer. And he only was able to tell his family that he was the author of them after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's an amazing story.
Wow.
We're going to lighten it up just a little bit as we close this down. 2 women photographers, street photographers.
Inga Marath, and that happened. She saw a lava coming out of a car in Times Square. The other is Ruth Orkin, and that is, what do you call? It's all put together, but she had the idea.
It's staged.
It's staged. She had the conception, and then she staged it. Excuse me. Yeah. She had the conception, and then she staged it. And American Girl in Italy, and it's really fun.
Those 2 pictures just give me pleasure, the power of the circus of the street every day. Inga Marath was married to Arthur Miller, and their daughter, Rebecca Miller, you might know her, fantastic actress. Our friend Susan Meiselas.
Yes, I own a lot of Susan Meiselas. These are strippers in Vermont or Maine at just carnivals. Just when you go to a
summer fair.
A summer fair. It's just a simple fair. So while you are there, they're giving prizes for the best pie makers, and you see the cows, and you see everything. They did strippers in the 70s, young women, and I think only men were allowed to go inside. And I have a whole series of those, and they're pretty shocking. And then she also has done so many bodies of work. She was in Nicaragua during the Sandinista period, and incredible photography.
We have a fine collection here. She's a MacArthur Fellow, one of the great picture makers and teachers, and she also did audio interviews with the subjects for these. So she was deeply interested in the sociological work of women in this genre. We just want to show you just a few more. Sally Mann, who,
yes,
as you know, is still controversial. Her pictures were taken off the wall in a museum just in the last 2 months in Texas.
Recently.
And this is a terrific picture of her kids. And our friend Melanie.
Now we come to my friend and my associate, Melanie Bennett. Thank you, Melanie. We have been working together in Maine 34 years. 34 years. 2 artists supporting one another. She had just graduated art school, Maine College of Art and Design, and I was just building a dark room, and I think I was her mentor for maybe 5 minutes. And then we have had this incredible long relationship. This is her former husband with her nephews. A load of laundry she'd just taken a load of laundry out of the dryer, and they were all trying on bras.
It's just an amazing picture, Melanie. And so is this one.
Yes.
Summer pleasures.
Yes.
Camera is an amazing tool. It's the most literary and lyrical object. I mean, tool making. I can't say it. The camera is a witness of life. It provides diaristic images to remind us what life is, but it also records things that you can't really even see. It's a magic box. And in the hands of an artist, it really is a delight to see what a picture can be. Just this simple pleasure. Look at the smile on this kid. It's so funny.
And this is Susie and the Bahama Beach, which is kind of like a nightclub in Portland. And I just love the body language and the joy.
So we have 3 more pictures to share, and then an extra one. They're all relating to Judy's love of photography and music and romanticism. The first one is of Jim Morrison.
And Pam. Jim Morrison of the Doors. This is Edmund Teskey. He was a California photographer, fabulous. I knew him. There's solarization, light coming into the darkroom. There's multiple images. It's just a great 60s photograph.
And it's sort of like a negative, positive thing. The
Yes.
tones are reversed, but it's of its moment, as is this one.
Okay. This I love to title is Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. This is his wedding day. He's smoking, who knows what. He's drinking. She, Bianca, is sex, period, and rock and roll. Mick Jagger.
And the camera is embedded like, a journalist in there. It's like, I don't know how this picture got made, but it is fabulous. And, Judy actually goes to more concerts than I do. She loves music. She's a phenomenal dancer. And she also collected this masterpiece
Wow.
of 2 artists together.
Robert Mapplethorpe, Patti Smith, when they were together, I think it's in the Chelsea area, New York, in the 60s, and their relationship, it just says so much.
Look at the way they look at the camera, and look at
Yeah.
the way the camera looks at them. It's a love affair, and the camera completes the cycle, the magnetism, and it's as powerful and as great a portrait as this one. Judy.
This just gives me a chance to say thank you, Leonard, for everything. Leonard the collector, and I don't know if everyone knew that Leonard started with postcards, and I think you knew him way back.
It turns out that I actually know Leonard from the back door through the world of postcards, and but you have something really special together.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true, and also he did posters, which the Met just finished an exhibit of. But Leonard also collected photography, and in the background are incredible Irving Penn small trades. The whole wall is filled with them. This is in our home.
And they're going to be on the wall of the Met very soon. We are actually... You got to wait for that. We're planning a show on the history of occupational portraits through multiple media, 400 years of people with the tools of their trade, which is what this series is. But notice that they're couples. In this case, the pictures behind Judy and Leonard are bakers and window washers doing their work, proud of their work together. That idea comes through your collection, it comes through this relationship. And you guys, Judy, Leonard, you're doing great work together. And we all thank you for it. So Judy, I want to thank you for joining me on the stage and for sharing your love of this medium that I love so much with all of your friends in the audience.
Jeffrey, I want to thank you. First of all, as you can tell, I learned so much from this gentleman. Unbelievable, his knowledge of photography. I know the museum is closed today, but be sure to see the new art of photography of America from 1849 to 1910. It's incredible. So when you come back to the Met, be sure to go. You won't believe this exhibit.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We want to invite you all to the reception, which is in the Engelhardt Court, and Judy's books are there for you to look at. They're signed, and they're extraordinary. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.